Aura is like money. It's a lot harder to earn than it is to lose. Now, if you don't know what aura is, I hope you know what the pause button is, because the definition is disappearing right now. Now, there's a lot of ways to gain and lose aura. Some people have enough aura to feed a village in Africa for a week, and some people have negative aura so bad that their family will be in debt for generations. The people with the most aura gain it organically. You can't buy aura, you can't really farm aura, you just sort of do your thing, and if you do it right, it comes naturally. A good example is that little kid in Indonesia who does the dancing on the boat. That was just what he does normally, people picked it up, and it went viral everywhere. And an example of trying too hard would be the cornball Playboy Cardi, who tries way too hard and just looks like an idiot. Now, with that out of the way, it's time for me to stop the waffle. Let's get into it. Now, in the 10th spot, we have Australia's greatest politician, Bob Katter. Now, I'll admit it, he should rank higher up on this list, but due to the fact that he's a politician, it makes him guilty by association, because all other politicians, like the Three Stooges that you're looking at on the screen right now, have zero aura whatsoever. But Bob Katter's different. First up, of course, you have the infamous Thousand Blossoms Bloom incident when he was asked about gay marriage.
I mean, people are entitled to their sexual proclivities. I mean, let there be 1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned. But I ain't spending any time on it, because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person was torn to pieces by a crocodile in North Queensland.
Then, of course, we've got all the silly costumes that he's been caught wearing throughout the years. And most recently, the time that he was caught at the airport reading his own autobiography. Combine that with his iconic white akubra and his famously volatile temperament that he showed off recently when a news reporter suggested that he might have a Lebanese heritage.
Oh, mate, don't say that, because that irritates me, and I punch blokes in the mouth for saying that. No, don't say that. Don't say that.
Bob Katter is just the gift that keeps on giving, always entertaining us, and unlike 99.99% of other politicians, actually somewhat of a likeable guy. Now, in 9th spot, we have the only other politician that has any aura as well, Bob Hawke. Bob Hawke earned the nickname the People's Prime Minister because he was one of the only Prime Ministers in Australian history that people actually liked. Now, he's got a little bit more aura than Bob Katter because he's a little bit more relaxed and was actually the Prime Minister at one point. Now, Bob Hawke was widely known for two things, beer and cricket. And a lot of the time, he did both at the same time. And luckily, we have two documented moments of this happening. The first one, of course, is the SCG beer sculling incident. At the young age of 82, Bob Hawke was handed a beer from another member of the crowd and was asked to down one for the country. And being the people's person that Bob Hawke was, he did exactly that. Now, as you would have seen and heard, the crowd was in uproar over this. People absolutely loved it, and he collected more aura from this one stunt than most politicians do in a lifetime. But this wasn't the only time that he did this. 5 years later, at the ripe old age of 87, 2 years before he'd pass away, he sculled a beer once again at the SCG, this time at an Australia versus Pakistan cricket match, saying that he was keeping to tradition. Now, unfortunately, in 2019, at the age of 89, Bob Hawke passed away. But luckily, 2 years prior, Bob Hawke and two others created their own brewing company and launched a beer called Hawke's Lager, carrying on his legacy with what he loved most. But I think one of the most famous Bob Hawke moments has to be the time that the Australian yacht, Australia 2, won the America's Cup, a big yacht race. And with that win, we ended America's 132-year winning streak. Now, Bob Hawke had been the Prime Minister for roughly 6 months at the time, was celebrating this historical win at a yacht club in Perth. And of course, he'd been doing what he did best, which was drinking beers, before he made this famous speech.
I tell you what, any boss who sacks anyone for not turning up today is a bum.
Now, this was a Tuesday morning, hence why the word today was used, but this was one of the early doors moments that really cemented Bob Hawke's legendary status. Anyway, let's move on to number 8. In 8th spot, of course, we have Parramatta high-vis man. On the Monday after Australia Day in 2018, this news reporter here named Natalia went down to the prestigious suburb of Parramatta in Western Sydney. Now, the plan was simple. They went down to the train station with a handful of 50s and handed out the notes to random commuters that they found on the platform. And what followed was one of Australia's greatest examples of accidental aura farming to ever take place.
Sir, would you like $50 to top up your Opal card? There we go. How was your Australian Day long weekend?
Very good.
What did you get up to?
Punched a few cones.
Oh. Oh, wow. Okay, we'll just leave you there, all right?
7 words, that's all he said. Now obviously Natalia was overwhelmed by his aura, so she quickly moved on. And for those of you who think this man has some sort of disdain towards roadworks, that's not what he meant by that statement. Now naturally this went viral. Pretty soon he was tracked down and they found out that his name was Warren. So the very next day he was invited onto a radio show, and here are some of the highlights.
What happened? Were you just sitting there and she walked up and gave you that card and you were shocked, or like
It wasn't a card, it was a 50.
a $50
She walked up
note?
and gave you a 50, Warren, and you kind of hesitated. Like, who hesitates when you get handed a $50 note?
I was just stunned. Like I just didn't expect to get
Stunned or stoned?
Yeah, we didn't
Which
quite
one?
hear that properly.
Stunned or stoned?
stunned.
Stunned.
Right, okay.
And then you do know, right? Like, you probably shouldn't say that on TV. What were you thinking, man?
I was just being honest.
What do your mates reckon, Warren? Do they give you a slap on the back, or?
They were laughing and stuff. Like, as soon as I turned on my Wi-Fi, like my phone just started blowing up notifications. Everyone like tagging me, laughing.
Yeah, right. Okay. And what are you going to do with that $50 note? Is it what everyone's been saying on our Facebook page? Are you buying something with it, or what are you going to do with the 50?
Probably what everyone's saying.
So Warren here made one of the greatest clips in Australian TV history, got paid $50 to do it, and all he did was speak the truth. And of course, we all know where that $50 ended up. Anyway, thank you Warren for your service. Now it's time to get into number 7, King Brown. On the 9th of March 2013, a video was uploaded to YouTube with the catchy title, "Funny Old Man Kicks a Venomous Eastern Australian Brown Snake Right in the Face. Must See," in brackets original. And it was safe to say that this video was a must see. Anyway, the video starts out with a bunch of birds attacking the brown snake in a random patch of grass in a random seating area somewhere. And then shortly after, our hero appears. Now according to the very descriptive description to this video, old mate on the left here was on the way to the can, and while he may have had a turtle head poking out, or his own brown snake that he needed to get rid of, there was another brown snake in the way. So of course he did the most logical thing and booted the in the head. But that wasn't it. The brown snake, now agitated, went back for round 2. But so did old mate, giving another boot to the head before they both decided to go their separate ways. And that's the end of the story. The snake, slightly dazed and confused from copping 2 boots to the cranium, according to the description, headed back to his habitat shortly after this altercation, and old mate could finally go to the toilet. And that's that. There's not much more to this story, just an old bloke kicking the second most deadly venomous snake in the world in the mouth and then just walking off. And for that, he received enough aura to sink a medium-sized vessel. Anyway, with that out of the way, it's time to get into number 6. And that of course is Angry Alpaca Man. Now the AM was taking his alpaca for a walk down the street, as you do, when some smartass pulled out his phone and made a stupid comment.
A big dog, mate.
Now obviously the AM didn't take kindly to this smartass's comment.
Shove that camera up your ass. Stop fucking pointing it in my face.
But I'll let the rest of the video play because A, it's comedy gold, and B, I don't feel like I really need to explain it.
A big dog, mate. Shove that camera up your ass. Stop fucking pointing it in my face. I think you're farting, you fuckwit. Go fuck yourself. What do you expect, mate? You're walking a fucking llama. Hey, mate, go get those fucking crates. There's a difference between a fucking alpaca and a dumb cunt like you. That's an alpaca, alright? Yeah, you look like one, you fuckwit. Fuck off, you dumb fuck. Look here.
Now my favourite part of this video is that the thing that seems to piss the alpaca man off the most was the cameraman mistaking the alpaca for a llama. Now this video has 22 million views alone on one short on YouTube with the title, "The Most Australian Interaction Ever," and every now and then he pops up on my For You page from other people spotting him out in public, and you can almost feel his aura radiating through the phone screen. Now this isn't the only thing he's been up to. He's also taking a supermarket to court for booting him out for not letting his alpaca in the supermarket, but for the sake of time and because it's not that interesting, I'm not going to bother getting into it. Anyway, next up of course, we have number 5, the beer drinking snake tosser in the ocean. Now this one will be a little bit shorter because there's not really much context to it, but this here is a video that was circulating a couple years ago of a man drinking a long neck in the ocean and then grabbing a snake and throwing it multiple times. He then appears to grab it and neck on with it. Now while this is one of the greatest and most stereotypical video to come out of Queensland, it turns out the RSPCA wasn't wasn't happy, and the man was threatened with animal cruelty charges. Now, this was actually the man's pet snake, and the RSPCA was worried that he was being cruel and scaring the snake or some bullshit. They even went as far as saying that what he was doing appeared to be in breach of his, and I quote, snake owner's license. I'm surprised I don't need one of those due to the fact that I'm hung like a circus pony. Anyway, this moment gained this snake man more aura than he would know what to do with. So much aura, in fact, that the court and the RSPCA were too scared to actually ever come after him. Anyway, next up in number 4, we've got one that I've covered a few times already, and that of course is the Crocodile Pan Man. Now, I already covered this in detail in my pub video, so go watch that if you want to see the full story. But basically, this guy here's name is Kai Hansen, and he owns a pub in Darwin, on an island surrounded by crocodiles. And one day, one of the crocodiles got a little bit too close for comfort, and he did the most logical thing a man could do. Grabbed a frying pan out of the kitchen, went down to the crocodile, and smacked it on the face. Now, I'll quickly put in some of the highlights from the news story that covered this after the video went viral here.
My kingdom has the only croc-infested moat all around,
which forced the publican to bring out his shield.
Gave her a smack a couple of times 15 years ago. So she knows what a frying pan is, and I don't have a gun. Well, I'm lying when I say I don't have a gun, but it's not very effective.
But unfortunately, according to the comments on my video on the pub, that crocodile eventually got his dog. So that crocodile's got negative aura for just being a cunt in general. But our friend Kai here, who took a leaf out of the PUBG handbook and fended off a killer saltwater crocodile with nothing but a frying pan, gained enough aura from this to charge an iPhone to 32%. Alright, now that all those ones are out of the way, it's time to get into the top 3. Starting off with number 3, and that of course is Ned Kelly. Now, love him or hate him, you can't deny that Ned Kelly had aura. It was basically our version of Iron Man before Iron Man even existed. He was basically a mixture of Arthur Morgan and Tony Stark. He was known for killing police, 2 major bank robberies, and stealing livestock, which was why his father, Red Kelly, came over to Australia in the first place. He was convicted of stealing 2 pigs back in Ireland, and of course he was famous for his 44-kilogram iron armor suit that he and the Kelly gang made from stolen plates off plows from people's farms. Now, obviously he wasn't a saint in any man's language, which is why he's so controversial, but he's widely considered Australia's last bushranger, and with his capture in 1880 in Glenrowan after a massive shootout with police wearing his Iron Man suit, he was arrested, brought back to the old Melbourne jail, and hung for his crimes. And all of this at the young age of only 25. His infamous last words were, "Such is life," which basically every bogan has a sticker of on their car or tattooed on their body somewhere. His whole ideology was to fight back against corruption and police harassment, and as I just mentioned, when he was captured in 1880, it was a failed plan to derail a police train and start a revolution. Now, obviously I don't have the time to go into the full Ned Kelly story in this video, but it is a great story. There's heaps of videos on YouTube and of course the Wikipedia page, so give it a gaze if you're interested in this stuff. But Ned Kelly had so much aura that even nearly 150 years after his death, you can still go visit his childhood home. They even have his infamous Iron Man suit on display at the State Library of Victoria. But we've spent enough time on Ned Kelly, it's time to move on to number 2. Now for number 2, we're not going to just do one person, we're going to do a little honourable mention section. All these people would have made the list, but because I've gone into them in detail many times on this channel before, I'm just going to rattle them off one by one. And for number 1, we've got someone that I've never actually spoken about on this channel before. Anyway, in second place, of course, we've got Clinton from Just Waiting for a Mate, Jack Carlson from Succulent Chinese Meal, rest in peace, Remy from Just Waiting for a Mate, Shane Warne, Corey Worthington, Russell Coit, and a lot of you guys on my Instagram suggested this guy who seems to run a YouTube channel called Yorak Hunt too. Go check it out. Anyway, with that out of the way, it's time to get into number 1. I'm sure you guys would have already guessed it. That, of course, is Steve Irwin. Steve Irwin was Australia's most iconic wildlife presenter and possibly one of the most iconic people to come out of Australia ever. Everyone around the world knows who he is, and everyone knows that he was a legend. And next year will mark 20 years since he unfortunately passed away. He was known as the Crocodile Hunter and was famous for wrestling them and other deadly animals. He basically invented the word crikey and basically dedicated his life to conservation of animals, rescuing them, and looking after the environment. Now, unfortunately, in 2006, while filming a wildlife documentary, he was stung through the heart with a stingray barb. Not long after, he passed away. Now, unfortunately, that was just the line of work he was in. He was always around dangerous animals and was always very respectful towards them, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I feel like he's a fitting place for number 1 on this list, and if you guys think I've missed anyone on any spot on this list, let me know down in the comments below. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, you may enjoy one of these ones as well. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I'll see all of you guys in the next one.